Hello. Welcome to Regeneration Rising Day 2. We are so excited to be here with you all today. And in the proper fashion that we have a tradition, a ritual, if you will, as a part of the Design Science Studio, to welcome each day with a little bit of embodiment, a little bit of movement, a little bit of breath. So we're going to invite you all into that ritual with us. And Jurgis, I believe you are muted, my dear.
So sad. I was playing beautiful music on top of your voice, and you were in perfect rhythm. We were in rhythm with one another, which probably means that we're connected through some form of crazy voodoo magic, which is not just acoustics. But I've come to understand that with the people in this cohort, we have learned to connect with one another almost in telepathic ways. And I think a lot of it has to do with resonance of values, of believing, feeling, and really living the same thing at the same time, even though we're many, many miles or kilometers apart. So to begin this beautiful session, I would like you all to feel comfortable in your bodies. I'd like you all to feel comfortable wherever you are, and you can feel comfortable by showing the signal that your shoulders are moving, your heads are moving, just kind of like, Take a couple of deep breaths, and feel how nice it is when your voice when the air strikes your vocal cords. That's right, it's nice. Another deep breath. Yeah, it's very, very nice when you feel that harmony comes from deep inside. And it's lovely to know that there are other people all over the world who are feeling the same. So if you'll take a deep breath right now, a deep breath, and exhale. Lovely. All these collective exhalations, that's right. And now give me one more inhalation, please. But this time I'm gonna ask you to hold it, enjoy it. Now exhale. Good. We couldn't have nice drugs shipped to you all. So by you holding your breath, we trust that at least we were changing the neurochemical content of your blood. And it is an excellent way of doing so. It is the cheapest option we have, and we have no trouble with taxation or with all kinds of importation, export issues. Okay, good. So now we're gonna give you another dose of good stuff. And if you're ready, show me a signal. Show me a thumbs up. Lovely. I personally believe that the future is both regenerative and co-created, which means it's re and co. Yesterday, when we had met and we were playing and making music together, we kind of paid a lot of attention to the co part. But today, I would like to focus on the re, 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 re. And I would like to invite you to sing with me this simple thing. Re, 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 re. I know you're singing by the movement of your lips, so don't pretend you're doing something when you're not. All right? Try it a bit louder. Re, re. That's lovely. Re, re, re. Yeah, re, re, re. Very good. Now, you're taking the positive vibrations we're creating in this room and you're sending them outward. But if we have a good level of trust, we can start to weave our res. And so the instructions, my dears, are the following. I want you to take a note with the re. It can be re, 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 whatever suits you. And I would like you to unmute and just give us one re whenever you want. And I'm wondering if we can do a human arpeggiator. So it'll sound like re, 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 re. And we won't mess up the system. Are you ready? Does that make sense? You're going to do one re every now and then. Unmute yourselves and then mute. Got it? Got it? Got it? Is everything clear? We got it? We got it? Ready? Let's try it. Re.
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 Re. Re. Let's do one long one. Re, 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 I have realized that each and every one of us has a special re. I personally love the idea of reconciliation. I think it's beautiful. Us coming to peace with ourselves, with one another, and with the world around us. But I know that each and every one of you have a different kind of re that activates you. So I'm gonna ask you to do a favor. I'm gonna ask a favor of you. I want you to find a marker and a piece of paper really quickly, and I want you to write down for the gallery, for this group of friends and everybody on the call, your favorite re word. The re word that has gotten you working together. The re word that has you inspired, and the re word which pushed you to get together with all these other revolucionarios. Re, a ver, re. And you need to take off your screensavers because otherwise we just see a white screen. Who's gonna share? Who's gonna share? Who's gonna share? Re. What have we got? Revive, remember, regenerative, resilience, rethink, regret, really? I respect, renew, resource, re. A ver, Alana, I didn't see yours. Which one is yours? Re. Remember, nature, rejoicing, resilience, lovely. And so here's the beautiful thing, we are harmonizing revolution, yes, revocotum, beautiful, rewild. So let's close this little activity by doing the re. Everybody on 3. 1, 2, 3, the arpeggiator. Re. Re. Beautiful, beautiful. This is, I like using music as a metaphor for things to occur. So this is, I see, is us weaving our different re-agendas and finding ways of making them fit within one another harmoniously. And so this is what we've been up to. And for you people who are listening to us from beyond the confines of the Design Science Studio in this beautiful Regenera event, I would like you to know that that is the main value we have found here, is actually understanding that our crazy regenerative agenda, that our crazy beautiful reword, such as resynergize, reciprocity, and resonance, finds a home and a place here amongst these beautiful people. Now, today we have with us a lot of beautiful things, things that we are going to share. And the first one is a beautiful poem by Alana, who is with us right now. Is that right? Alana, are you here? Alana
I'm
Bloom,
here.
she's right. Yes, beautiful. And if you don't mind, I'm going to put down a little backing track so that you can share your beautiful re poem.
Oh, amazing, Jurgis. Thank you. Yes, so I have a poem that was written on Saturday on the spring equinox to celebrate this time of rebirth and of spring emerging in the northern hemisphere. And yeah, so here it is. Blessed day and dawn, I rise again to the profound wonder of this world, greeting the ground with praise, like I might hope to be greeted each day. There is a bounty in this equinox, the smell of nameless flowers that caress my nose, sounds of birdsong that make the soul flutter, I am lighter, like the lengthening of the day. These waves of spring are a tonic, some remedy to the troubles. It's a medicine captured in the carpet of wild garlic and its preciousness revealed in the dance of the wren. I trace the names of those who walked before in this place, hearing their laughter reach through time to touch me. I stand feeling the presence of all the ones who grow tall, feeling how deep their roots reach. And all this holds me in ways I never knew I could be held, with love that was always there, waiting to be felt, like the arrival of the dawn. Thanks, folks. And I'm deeply connected with the cycles and seasons, and I'm actually starting a course this evening all to do with cycles and seasons and what it means to live in a regenerative way connected to those rhythms of the earth. And this is what emerges out of that space when I'm connected to that rhythm. So if anyone else here wants to tune in, plug in to the rhythm of the earth, then please do reach out. I'd love to connect with you. My course is starting this evening.
In 2 hours, because you're in the UK.
Yeah.
Link in the chat for everyone. And
Sure.
Yeah, can you explain just like one more time kind of the structure?
Yeah, so Earth Rhythms is a 6-week course that's basically goes through the seasonal journey to connect us with the different seasonal energies and what we can learn from those energies and how we can bring those into our lives. So this evening is the introductory space, and spring is next week, and then we go through each season. And I'll post a link in the chat, and yeah, please feel free to reach out if this spurs your interest and you feel called in some way. I'm really happy to, support people that feel the call to participate. So, yeah, does that make sense? Is there anything else I should cover, Roxy?
I mean, right now this is being streamed out into the world far and wide. So if they're listening, what is a website that they can go to?
Gotcha. Yes. So if you go to regeneratingrhythms.org, and you should be able to find a way to Earth Rhythms from there, I'm pretty sure. Or you can find me on Instagram at Alana Blooms. And yeah, I believe that you'll find your way towards me if it's the right thing.
Well, you have been such an incredibly important anchor in the nourishment and groundedness that our earth reminds us to have, the steady, slow growth, and the need to return to that as well as an important part of our regeneration. I almost said regermination. That's kind of
yeah.
Maybe that's my contribution for today for Jurgis. Regermination.
I love it.
That's a very good one. I like regermination. And so I was thinking right now, it's so beautiful. Alana, remind us your reword. What was your reword again?
Remember. Like remembering the earth's rhythm and finding a new way to do something really ancient.
I'm not a person who knows a lot about etymology, but I think that etymology of words is really fascinating. And I think remember is one of those underlying things which are behind all these rewords, which means that it's a return to something, which doesn't mean to learn something new, but more to relearn something, to not to create something new, but to remember something. And I believe that return to something profound is really beautiful. And one of the things that I realized is that one of the things that unifies us also is recreation. Yes.
You're good. Can you turn up a little bit?
Yeah, recreation. How that?
Perfect.
Yes, recreation. So we are people who are not only very serious, very accomplished professionals. we're also people who know how to seriously have fun. And I just had a cool idea, because one of the things that we are looking forward is to not only changing the world, but to have a lot of fun together. So I had this cool idea. Maybe you can help us. I would like to do another re arpeggiator, but I would like to do it with an Oompa Loompa kind of little dance. So when you do your re, you go like re, and you go up, and you go down. You go re, 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 re. All right, this will be great for social media as well. People will really understand that we take ourselves seriously, but not too seriously. So let's see if we can get the whole screen doing the re. Unmute yourselves when you do the Oompa Loompa dance. Ready? 1, 2, 3, and re.
Re,
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 re, re,
re, re, re,
Whitney.
Lovely, lovely, lovely.
Hij komt nog.
Alright.
Ik kan niet nou gezellig doen. Ja, oké.
So now we would like to refocus attention, because it was just dispersed for a little bit, and we would like to bring together the whole team and the main culprits of this whole thing, Amanda, Roxy, Nico, and Faith, to reconnect, rewire, and redirect us in the course of this session. Re, 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 re. Reverence. That's another very beautiful one. Amanda.
Hello. So lovely to be here. I'm Amanda Joy Ravenhill, Executive Director at Buckminster Fuller Institute, here with Faith Flanagan.
Hello, welcome. And Roxy.
All those awkward silences of people trying to find them unmute.
Like, where'd it go? Yes.
Somebody compare the new Zoom calls as like we had sessions where you have these send like ghosts like, are you there? And we can hear you. Are you there?
Oh, you do your intro first, then I'll tell. What's your role? What are you doing here? What are you doing here, Nico?
I do everything and anything at the same time. I do many things. I imagine things. That's my role. I'm the Imagineer.
He's the Imagineer. And I am the director and the architect of the studio. We are so happy to be back with you all today in our day 2 of Regeneration. Regeneration. And you see my screen? Good and good. Okay. So for anyone here who is not very familiar with the Design Science Studio, welcome. And for anyone here who is familiar with the Design Science Studio, welcome. We are, as I said, in the second day of this 8-day summit. And it is a really beautiful collective moment that we've all been building towards for the last 8 months. And so what is the Design Science Studio?
It's an incubator for art that promotes the Regenaissance. And you might ask, what's the Regenaissance? Well, the Regenaissance is a movement that is emerging, that is happening, that you are all feeling, that's why you're here, and that seeks to rethink how we relate with the planet and with each other, and try to bring about just some better solutions than the ones that we currently have.
And it was created in this space to really build the capacity of the creative community. So we've been working to empower global creators who see this future that we're moving towards and want to channel their creative force towards uplifting and accelerating that transition, and filling it with the beauty and fun that art and design can bring, in addition to the thought and the systems thinkers. Artists are systems thinkers. They're incredible systems thinkers. And there have been many artists who have found that through the studio, they weren't calling themselves artists as well. I think there's an art to living. There's an art to the way that we're approaching this reality. But there is a very important facet about the Design Science Studio that's really built to empower the creative community to be a critical component to this regenerative movement, because we're moving towards a world together that works for 100% of life, not just people.
And let me zoom out for a second so we try to really understand what we're doing here. There's a really, really nice quote from Terence McKenna. He says that we can only evolve as fast as our language does, which means that we can only understand what we can name, what we have a way to imagine. And an example of this would be that, you know, there are tribes in the Amazon that don't have words to say tomorrow or verbs for the future or the past. So they could only understand the present. They don't have a word to name it. And so within this, we also love this quote that says that the future is always first an idea. So in order to change things, we first need to imagine them. We need to be able to put them together and give them a shape and a form, or words or music, and put it out there so we can start thinking about it. So we can start thinking how to do it. And so that's our work at the studio. That's really the core of it. It's just trying to imagine better futures, empowering artists and creators and narrators and musicians and all kinds of multidisciplinary artists to really think further.
Oh, go ahead.
I see Nico has his invisibility cloak on today as well.
I'm there. Have not.
As you know, we're in a time of radical shifts and radical change. And so the studio came about from the need to really rethink what we've been going through for the last several years. Through the global pandemic, over-industrialization, othering, this has been quite the last 2 years of a real need for systems change and a real need to shift our thinking and our consciousness. So it's time for that shift.
And you'll hear us repeat things, but we believe that change comes through making things sexy and then repeating them a lot. And that's what, you know, we're working on creating all these memes that we keep mentioning. And probably our favorite one is Regenaissance, because it encapsulates the zeitgeist. I love that word, zeitgeist. It's the feeling that is happening at the society at large, that something is changing and evolving and morphing, and that we're part of it. We're right in the middle of it. We're it, and we're making it. And so within this, we believe that probably the most fundamental core of everything that we're trying to bring about, what drives every message and everything we do, is our connection with nature, which is having nature in mind and understanding that we are nature. It's not something part of us.
Not separate from it at all. Actually, one of the programs of the studio, which you all will start to hear about, is the Living Systems Collaboratory, where we're really digging into Gaian systems theory, which if you've never learned much about it, one of my favorite short stories that really stuck with me from a longtime collaborator of BFI and mentor of mine, David Conville, is that what John Lovelock, what was discovered when we zoomed out, when we saw the Earth from afar, we were actually able to finally scientifically prove that the Earth is a living organism, that the whole thing, because our atmosphere couldn't regulate itself without life. We are one body. And so in this place of not being separate, of all being, really truly interwoven, this new narrative it's our birthright. And so reconnecting to that is an important part of what we're up to. And
it's fascinating that the other day I don't know if it was in a call or right summer, but there literally started to be oxygen because there were organisms that ended up needing that oxygen. It's a crazy cycle.
Love it. And there's never been a better time than right now for the Design Science Decade and diving into some of these concepts. As Buckminster Fuller said, the world is ready to make it work for 100% of life for the shortest possible time through spontaneous cooperation without ecological offense or disadvantage to anyone. And we're going to be diving into the Design Science Decade. This year was the kickoff, and Amanda will talk more about what that means and what that is.
There's this quote that I also love from Bucky Fuller, in which he asks, if the future of the world depending on what you do and how you act, what will you do and how will you act? That simple like acknowledgement of like looking inwards and saying, what can I do, is what he called being a trim tab. A trim tab is the smallest part of a plane or a ship. It's the little thing on the wings, the flap, that allows the entire vessel to shift course. And so it's the smallest part of the system that can create the biggest amount of change. So what happens if we do that? If we look inwards and say, how can I be a trim tab?
And that's what the artists of the studio have been doing. That's what all of the members of this community have been doing, and that's what we're inviting all of you to do as well. So we're in this space where we're doing our best to respond through our collective vision and just a deep knowing that if we work together and we try to do our best to sense, make, and learn in this space, knowing this transformational moment that we're in, we can transition, and we can do that through this decade of a mission that we're on, which is knowing that, you know, we have as we said, made all the right tools for all the wrong reasons, like he said. And so we're trying to see in the course of the next 10 years, you know, how can we transform this path ahead? And so the studio is behind that mission, and we're articulating this possibility of a healthy planet through this decade of creative revolution. And we're doing it because that when we look back and look forward in time, social and systemic change starts with the story. There have been so many stories throughout the course of history that have transformed the course of our human societies. I mean, we are a human family. I like that Amanda often says that we are a keystone species, like beavers are, right? And as a keystone species, we can have a lot of impact. But what is the impact that we're having? And so we see throughout our history that art has had a critical impact in helping to build bridges and help with aid in these transitions and these key moments. And so we're behind that in every way. It is time for art that changes history, and we're living it, and we know that it is possible. And so that's where we're at. We're propelling this envisioning and feeling and embodying it so that we can transform our collective capacity and harmonize with this future that is our birthright.
Each one of these faces that you see in here, actually there are not all of them are there. We have more creators, but like each one of these faces that you see here, these are our first family. It's our first cohort of Revolutionaries for the Design Science Studio. It's the first time we're doing this. We started in September, and we plan on continue doing this every single year, at least an entire decade. And so every year we're just gonna keep growing and growing our flock of artists. And we call it a flock because it's having this feeling that we have all these people moving in the same frequency, as Gergis was saying, just moving towards one objective and being able to redirect our energy to things that matter and that are important in all our creativity. And these are members of the cohort, but we include each one of you that are here showing up into this. When we coordinate, when we have a goal, we can really make wonders. So this is also an invitation for you to join, participate in the many different forms that we're going to have.
And so the studio's been built in this sort of three-pronged way. We have, you know, Amanda and I were having this conversation, now January 2020, just feeling into I have a big history of working with a lot of large-scale interactive art and artists who are working in this field. Amanda and I have been scheming and dreaming and creating different art at this intersection of art and science and sustainability and regeneration, and this like aiding in planetary stewardship for 8 years. And so but one thing that seemed very obvious is that it's not always possible for artists to get to have the opportunity to dig deep into this full systems perspective and in what it is that it means to regenerate our planet and our culture and our future. And so we created a curriculum that we iterate with the creators and with the visionaries who you'll get to experience some of throughout the week. And so this curriculum is what we've been going through for the last 8 months. And here we are. We've been building bridges for systemic understanding, refining the edges. There, if you were here yesterday, you might have experienced this like beautiful, like it's not right or wrong. We're trying to sense make together, and this like tensegrity of our approach and really trying to be full perspective in our approach is such an important part of what we're learning together. So that's what the curriculum is for. And then we have this community, so this global cohort all over the world, loving each other, being amazing, all different people from all different areas and different experience levels really working together for this global movement. And then that connected to the global movement of thought leaders and different organizations and initiatives who are doing this work for collective action. And then here we are, we're showcasing, we're weaving, we're scaffolding, we're funding, we're launching, and we're empowering art to change history.
Here we are in the design science decade. Buckminster Fuller created the original design science decade in the 60s, and BFI, in collaboration with Hub Ritual, have relaunched the design science decade for the 20s, leading up to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals in 2030. And we see this as the most concentrated transition moment humanity has yet to experience. And following Fuller's original intention, we can make the world work for 100% of humanity, leaving none behind. In the course of 10 years, we have the technology to make that possible. And so we see ourselves moving through these various themes, more words. And here we are in the first one of reconciliation and commitment, which we'll dive into, and the other ones, which we'll go into throughout the course of this week. With Regeneration Rising, our restoration and capital transfer. That's both ecosystem and ecosystem restoration and capital transfer of tens of trillions of dollars that will move towards a regenerative economy in this decade. We'll speak about resilience and coming together as there are more and more shocks to the system. A lot of people think that the pandemic was really training wheels in order to support us in creating more mutual aid networks and ways that we can create more resilient and decentralized systems and communities. And then moving into regeneration and celebration, so much of the work that we do to bring the Earth back to its base state of regeneration has a latency, has a delay. So we'll see kind of later on in the decade, a lot of the good work that we've been doing all adding up. And then finally, this idea of re-enchantment, of coming back into chanting, into harmony and song with the natural world as we are part of it, not apart from it. And finally, the idea of circularity, this moment in which all materials will either be recovered from past products or grown in a regenerative way and returned back into compost piles. But let's dive into reconciliation, the theme of today. So we see this as kind of the first theme of the decade. It's the time that we really need to lay the deep groundwork for this 10 years ahead, and remember a systems understanding of the world and come back to this understanding of, it's not just climate change or the pandemic, there are root causes that exacerbate and create these problems. And so solve for those root causes of our interconnected crises, then we're less in a pattern of just playing whack-a-mole of, putting out one fire and then having 10 more fires pop up because of an underlying root cause that's just going to continue to manifest. We also like to think about this time as looking to people who have been marginalized and historically oppressed over time and see them as teachers of resilience and uplift them. and engage in reparations of all sorts. And then finally, this idea of commitments of all of us personally, as companies, as organizations, as communities, committing without even quite knowing how we're going to get there, but still committing and saying, we're going to do this, and kind of painting the picture of the future that we want in that way. And so to dive in a little bit into the root causes, so this idea again of kind of being able to solve the surface problems with more ease if we look into the root causes. These are some of the ones that we've identified thus far. If you have other ideas, please put them into the chat, whether you're watching on the live stream or here in the Zoom. We think one of the base root causes for so many of our ailments right now is this idea of separation from nature and control and domination of nature. So we're shifting into this reverence for an interdependence that fuels life, something that many ancient and indigenous wisdom traditions have known and have kept as central to their culture. We're remembering into that. Another huge one is money and politics and corruption. Seeing all over the world alternative governance models coming up. Some really incredible ones around citizen assemblies. This root cause of a narrow focus and reductionism, just looking at the parts of a system rather than the larger whole, moving towards seeing systems in context. Another one is avoidance of inner work, which we'll get into in a little bit. This is key to reconciliation and cancel culture, and instead moving over to attending to and healing trauma. I had this idea come to me actually just this weekend of like, instead of forgive me for I have sinned, it should be forgive me for I have traumaed. So many of us are holding individual, collective, and ancestral trauma and are kind of expressing that in different ways. So as we attend to that, we can calm that system down so that we can all rise up. Then myopic thinking, quarterly profits, just thinking more the corporate personhood and all of that enables us to kind of not consider externalities, long-term thinking, and what Bucky called true wealth, which is the sum total of all of our knowing about how we can take care of one another and take care of the planet as ourselves. And so prioritizing that as wealth rather than some numbers in the othering and colonization as another root cause, and again, very central to reconciliation. So much of our patterning and how we relate to one another is through those lenses in ways that we don't even know. And so an invitation to continue to check yourself and move into a diversity and cultural abundance and reparations frame. And then finally, shifting from scarcity and selfishness, a world in which I can only profit at someone else's expense, into one of generosity and shared value, and experimenting with all sorts of gifting economy and sharing economy values and practices. So there's a lot here. There's a lot to get into with any of these root causes, but just a recommendation when you are working on projects to kind of take a look at this list or make your own list and say, how can I not just solve kind of the immediate thing here, but actually go upstream and say, how was this thing created, and how can I kind of stack functions, as we say in permaculture, and address the various points on the stream all at once. And I think move on to the next slide. Adrienne Marie Brown does some really good work about talking about reconciliation with her book, We Will Not Cancel Us. And I'll just read an excerpt of this excerpt. She says, we will tell each other we hurt people and who. We will tell each other why and who hurt us and how. We will tell each other what we will do to heal ourselves and heal the wounds in our wake. We will be accountable, rigorous in our accountability, all of us unlearning, all of us crawling towards dignity. We will learn to set and hold boundaries, communicate without manipulation, give and receive consent, ask for help, love our shadows without letting them rule our relationships, and remember we are one. We are of earth, of miracle, of a whole, of a massive river, love, life, life, love. We will not cancel us. If we give up this strategy, we will learn together the other strategies that will ultimately help us break these cycles. Liberate future generations from the burden of our shared and private pain, leaving nothing unspeakable in our bones. No shame in Each of us is precious. We together must break every cycle that makes us forget this. So this is from a much larger book. Highly recommend people look it up. Adrienne Maree Brown also wrote Emergent Strategy, and she's just a really wise sage for these times. So that's a little piece on reconciliation. Hope you enjoyed it. Excited to continue to explore this theme today and throughout the decade with you all. And I will pass it back to Roxy. Thanks all.
So beautiful. Adrienne Maree Brown has been our spirit animal the last 2 days. What a superhero she is. All right, we have a day full of excitement, and you all have probably seen this more times than you'd like to at this point, but just kidding. This is just a super zoomed out. It's like, what does this little guy mean? Myriad of immersive experiences. Well, there's a myriad of immersive experiences, workshops and panels and performances and presentations and interactive 3D worlds to explore. And that's real. But how do you get in? Where do we go? What's going on? I don't know where to go. I can't find the help desk. I'm lost. So we've been hearing a little bit of this, so we want to help you wayfind a bit and know that we built a world. So you don't always know how to use the GPS at first when you get to a new world. And you don't actually always know how to build the GPS when you build the new world. So we're working on it, trying to make it easier every day so that we can architect to the future together. So I'm going to show you a little bit about how to get around quickly because we have a lot of wonderful presentations to follow and performances. So
can you do it with an accent?
I will do it like this with this accent that I don't know where it's from, but I'm speaking in a new way. And
You're channeling.
I'm channeling forward to this future, and I'm going to finish these slides because they're cute and we love all these people. Yay! Okay, great. Woo-hoo. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing. And I'm going to show you the inside. Okay. So, what happened was when you bought a ticket, I'm not sharing yet, I know. When you bought a ticket, it sent you to presents. Actually, we're going to go to the beginning. In the beginning, there was presents. And presents is great. Okay. Is everyone feeling present? Great. Oh, I forgot my accent. Oh, it's different accent now. All right. And then you bought a ticket, and then your ticket went here, and then there was the thing. That was the one thing that you bought. Great. What happens if I click it? Oh, where am I going? A new place. Great. All right. Here's where I go. Ooh, this is fun. There's some things here and a password. Exciting. This password is utilized anywhere that asks you for a password. Very secretive. One of the things that you need to know is the schedule. How do I get around? Oh, I'm back in presents. I want to go to this beaming regenerative event. Very well. Add to schedule. Wait.
One thing to mention is if you're not logged into presence for whatever reason, it will ask you to buy a ticket. Because you need to be logged in so it recognizes that you bought a ticket already.
See, that's me.
Yeah.
That's me. Okay, so I want to go to this thing. It's free. Well, of course it's free. I bought a ticket. All right. Oh, I'm going to be a conscious listener. I agree. Now I'm back in my tickets. Oh, so that's the event you just registered for. So basically, after each event you register for, it'll send you back to your tickets, and then you enter those portals. You know, we'll do more orienting.
If you click on the event, it will show you the information of the event and the link to join whatever that event is happening. Sometimes they happen on Zoom, sometimes they happen on.
I don't want to leave my meeting. I'm going to stay. We're going to show you around a little more at the end. More things to do now that are more interesting, like the next.
Also know that besides all the talks that we'll be going through the week, we have created an entire world called Regeneration. And so recommendation is we're still working on building up the website so you can access all the different worlds. But we're gonna send you an email like me today with further information on how to access them. You'll be able to do that on that page that Roxy was showing you. Just know that you'll be able to access New York City Mora, the regenerative art, which happens in this new platform called New York City, and we'll give you a link for that. And then we'll also have created 4 worlds of Regenera into another platform called Tokyo. That's good. That's good. Okay, sir. All right. Later.
We'll do it a little bit because we need the next presenters to come up. So they're amazing. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 worlds. 11, 6, 2 and 4, 6 worlds of interactive art. 6. They're amazing, and we'll help you navigate there more soon. And you can get there from that page. Okay, that is all we're doing. Jorgis. Yeah.
I'm excited.
I'm excited. I'm very excited about this next person. Oh my goodness.
I'm super excited. I really think it's something else when we start to unearth new formats, new ways of coming together, and new ways of making sense of our collective existence. And I know that for many of you, going into Mora or Regenera might feel a little bit experimental. But the cool thing about all these spaces is that we are creating something new, and we are actually rediscovering new ways of being with one another. And so our next speaker is a person who actually went from the mainstream culture, working with people like Beyonce, like Jay-Z, like Coldplay, into a new medium of rediscovery, of finding ways how events and convening can serve not only our entertainment purposes, but something deeper as well. And so I'm happy to give the stage to Anthony Randall.
Good morning. Check 1 2 1 2 1 2. As we would do if we were still on stage somewhere in a live event. I'm going to share an opening of my presentation here, so bear with me while I kick into gear. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. I think that might have been one of the most beautiful introductions actually today. So bravo. And Roxy, Nico, Amanda, thank you for all the inspiration, and thanks for allowing me to be here this morning. My name is Anthony Randall. I am the co-founder of this wonderful organization called Planet Home with my partner, Gabrielle Hull, and a whole a range of great thinkers that came together over the last few years to really put this together. But first, I want to thank the Buckminster Fuller Institute, the Design Science Studio, and the entire Planet Home Solutionist movement for their continuing, commitment to supporting this wonderful community that we have here. It's all the work of all the wonderful people in this community that makes this all possible and makes us really want to continue on this journey. So I want to take a moment just to thank you guys, and thank you for allowing me to be here, and for all the hard work that all the creators are building. I want to start today by sharing a quote that I shared last time, actually, which still resonates with me today, which was just before Buckminster, or Bucky, passed away, actually, in 1983. So it's quite an important quote to me that I've carried with me. When I was born, humanity was 95% literate. Since I've been born, the population has doubled, and that total population is now 65% literate. That's a gain of 130-fold of the literacy. When humanity is primarily illiterate, it needs leaders to understand and get the information and deal with it. When we are at the point where majority of humans themselves are literate, able to get the information, we're in an entirely new relationship to the universe. We're at a point where the integrity of the individual counts, and not what the political leadership or religious leadership say to do. So I want to take a second just to think about that. That was 1983. That was long before the technical evolution of today. In 1983, we also saw the ARPANET adopt TCP/IP, which really led researchers to assemble the networks which became the modern internet that we see today. And that technical evolution, of course, has allowed us to really exponentially change the world around us. Now, I've been really thankful to be invited here this morning to participate in kind of kicking this off. But this week, we'll also be seeing a little bit for some other solutionists that are actually going to come this week and speak. We'll hear from a groundbreaking solutions like Maylin, who, along with Vince Sir, who's one of the founders of the internet, will talk this week about the global help desk and the people-centered internet and tech for good. What do we really need to do with technology to make it useful for good? So we'll see a little bit from them this week as well. But Planet Home, how about I tell you a little bit about us? So we were formed really in 2017. I nearly said 7, and I say that a lot. I think I lose a decade. When we wanted to try to figure out how we could make it easier for people to discover and experience a better way of living, really. Because we think there are thousands of simple things that we can do differently that are healthier for ourselves and our families, our communities, and our planet. And so what we wanted to do is make it simple and easy for everyone that called this planet home to be a solutionist, for everyone who has the power to make a difference to be involved. So Planet Home really functions as an ecosystem of people, products, and resources. And we try to make it as easy for everyone to participate in solutions, to make it easier to eat, make, move, and live better. And so that we can really think about culturing solutions. And that's really a little bit about Planet Home. We do actually call ourselves a solutionist movement, which we like to think ourselves as. I'm going to kick off with a little video here. Hopefully you'll be able to see it and hear it, which is actually a lot of the work that was done by Roxy and Amanda and hundreds of people, Nico, that worked with us in 2019 to create this experience. So I'm going to play this little video just to give you an idea of what the experiences look like.
Oh, you might need to re-share with computer audio and video enabled.
I like that idea. I can reshare. I think I know how to do that.
Yeah. So when you push the share, you just click share computer audio. And
is that coming through now?
Oh, there you go. I see the
How's
audio.
How are we doing, guys? Is that working for you? Live, stop, audio?
Video too? You turn it optimize for video?
So if you stop sharing your screen first, then when you click share screen again, yeah, then on the lower left-hand side, there's 2 check boxes. Just make sure those are hit.
Don't need that. Yeah. Okay. How are we doing now? You reckon? Think it's going to come through? Let's try that again.
Out in a second.
Let's see. Oh, and we missed it. We lost it. I think you lost the video, guys. Well, I lost the video.
I'm here at Planet
You got it.
Home, and it's awesome.
I see Planet Home creating a worldwide movement.
We can change the world. Let's have a good Planet Home.
This is the inaugural Planet Home gathering here in the Palace of Fine Arts.
And the point of all of this is about giving everyone who steps into these doors the vision of what the future can really look like.
If you can turn it up with the volume slider on the bottom, that'd be great.
Yeah. Is it too low?
Yeah, just hover over the video at the bottom left.
Yeah, it's not.
Trying to save the world.
More.
It's about finding inspirational ways to get people engaged with themselves,
Yeah.
each other, and the world.
Sorry, guys.
Once you connect, you can care.
Our idea was to get the smartest
Let's
people
see.
in the world.
We can hear it.
together
It's
to
just not
collaborate
as
with
loud
each
as
other
it
so
No
that we can
worries.
make sure
I'm trying to get it to come up without stopping the video.
and for their kids.
Yeah. Nope. Doesn't want to do it. There she is. There's that bar there.
People are going to have to save the world if they want a world that's worth living.
Can you see that? I'm chasing it around. It's not wanting to talk to me.
It's not a speakeasy.
Everyone has come together.
Sorry, we can hear it well enough.
Being a solutionist is finding ways to cooperate.
It's really nice when I get to come and play anything that has a purpose, that is trying to make the world a better place.
I'm very glad to be here for a good cause.
Just think about one small thing you can do to save our planet Earth. If you're not here, you're missing out. Wow. That's wild.
The next decade is pivotal. We can turn this around.
Check 1 2 1 2. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yep, we got you.
Great. Well, thanks, guys. Sorry about the technical hiccup there. You know, I know that the group here talks very much about bridging gaps and the movement, and I think that it is about bridging gaps. So in 2019, when we launched that, it was actually a few years after we've been developing this idea of bringing some of the smartest minds that we could find to meet with some of the culture makers, as well as the technologists and the economic leaders, to talk about how we would bridge these gaps. And so we sort of really saw ourselves as the solutionist movement. And I'm going to read a little thing that we wrote yesterday, which is, we are the people who want a better world for our children. We are the children who want a better world for all. Together, we take actions that make a positive impact on the planet and everyone who calls it home. We are artists, authors, and athletes. We are engineers, farmers, and economics. We are government and environmentalists. We are small business. We're multinational corporations. And while we don't always agree, we do know one thing for certain. Our environment faces grave challenges. It will take the world's largest cooperative movement to solve. By surrounding these problems from all angles and taking a macroscopic systems level approach to change, we can bridge the knowledge gaps between experts and find the solutions to our world's most pressing problems. We are solutionists on a global mission to transform behavior and have fun doing it. Culture love, culture values, culture solution. So we wrote that yesterday as a little thought of like, how do we talk about the solutionist movement? And that's kind of how we've really thought about the Planet Home really as a solutionist movement. And so we're doing a campaign right now called Calling All Solutionists, which is what we're really honored to be today to do, is to really speak about how we think that we can play a small part, like a little grain of sand in this movement that the team's building. So this week we are going to do our little micro mini series where we're going to talk about funding a net positive future. Gabrielle Hall, my business partner, will be discussing that hopefully this week with Ibrahim and Tom, two amazing minds from our community that are leading the way. We are going to be talking about frameworks and taxonomies with Amanda, myself, and Robert, where we're going to be doing a workshop on how the frameworks that we are using that help us discover data, information, research, and how that aligns with our everyday life. We are going to be fortunate enough to have Mei Lin join us. As I mentioned earlier, is actually one of the founding thinkers of the internet era. And she's going to be bringing a few members of her team from PCI and GHD to talk about bridging the gap between the education gap as well as the technology gap. So that'll be fun. And today, actually, I think Chris Holmes and Roxy and Nico and many others are going to be hosting a small get-together for the creators from 2017, 18, and 19 to talk about 21 and beyond, so we can start to think about 2019 was big, but how big can we really make that? So that's the week ahead. So hopefully a few of you will stay around and maybe hear a little bit about that. But I want to talk a little bit about technology, if that's okay. If Cambridge Analytica told us that data is like oil, and Tristan Harris confirmed, that we really are in a decade where our attention is money, I'm sure we can all agree we need a decade where we take good actions for ourselves and our planet every day, versus living through this filter on our phones and our Instagram apps. In 2020, the pandemic shifted us into a future of online tools. With the convergence of gaming software, AR, VR, web browsers, online media, and a complete shift to online commerce and at home health and wellness, we've just experienced the biggest digital transformation to date that we've had in our lifetime. The digital platforms we've seen today have been designed to get us addicted, right, to staying on our devices so that these big tech companies can leverage our impressions and sell our data. I mean, they keep us online and make us form these habits that we solely work for the purpose of profit, solely keep us addicted to staying into these platforms. We've allowed them to create this financial powerhouse, and it's so overwhelming. It's starting to feel like these companies will soon own the world, and maybe they already do. And what can we do to stop it, or what can we do? What's our small part? Can we use tech for good? Can we use AI for good? We have a friend that's got a program called UCOT, if anyone's familiar with it. It's unintended consequence of technology. How can we really use the information of the past to help us in the future? Imagine if we could move people away from really eyeballs to actions. What if we got off our phones and got off our Zooms and really got into action for the planet? Where these technologies aren't built to get people addicted to kind of passive and or engaged eyeballs, where they're just getting kind of more and more likes or more fans or more followers, but actually move to taking actions and changing their habits for the planet. So, we really thought long and hard about this over the last 2 or 3 years. And we really thought about Planet Home as a place for engaging stories. And these are the things that intrigue us into taking our actions, which, give us these intrinsic rewards that bring us to these where we get invested into these programs. So we've been really looking at our platform as a 4-part loop cycle process where each part of our platform really does take us towards the things we need and away from the things we don't need. So we really considered many of these things that we've been talking to people about over the last couple of years. And of course, really at the heart of this, you know, and the Planet Home solution experience is, you know, we're storytellers. Our community of creators, just like here, are telling stories and are telling inspiring components. But I think it needs to be kind of structured and really does lean into research and data for these stories so that we can actually give informed information and contextualize the kind of data and research that we find. The platform actually allows, and a framework, which we'll talk about in a second, as allowing us to align these stories and our micro and macro actions with really kind of the research and data that we find in our taxonomies. And that really allows us to give open access to everybody to really kind of learn and go on these journeys. And, you know, when we converge our digital stories with our physical experiences, as the guys here have done today, and we really start to, I think, find these deep behavioral changes. We can find very quickly what works, what doesn't work. We can share stories in real time. And that was really what a lot of our work is bringing these digital era and these lived experiences to converge together so we can use the power of storytelling to really make change. And, you know, our solutionists are building out these digital and lived stories to inspire us. And you'll see there a whole slew of amazing, great thinkers. And there's hundreds and hundreds more here, and there's hundreds more in our community that we're working with to really help tell these stories. And that really brings us back to, you know, how these stories can then lead to change or then lead to solutions. And here's a little video of a sort of a project that we did in 2019, which was really around the fires, where we kind of used the power of the storytelling to then share what happens in real time, in real life, but also how that can be attached to a solution.
It's a battle against an unrelenting inferno.
We're trying to show how quickly and devastating a fire can rip through someone's life.
Through the ashes. Here we go.
It's based on the Northern California fires last year. The entire installation is 100% recycled and upcycled materials. Everything you see is from an upcycled or recycled source.
More than 3,000 firefighters are struggling to contain the fires in what's been described as horrific conditions.
And there's not one solution to wildfires, but there are actionable steps that people can take to help mitigate the occurrence and devastation of these fires. And so we teamed up with the Nature Conservancy to plant 1 billion trees. And we have the ability for people to sign up to plant 1 billion trees.
More than 11,000 homes and buildings are now little more than scorched walls and burned foundations.
Lester's an artist that helped me build this, and his story of growing up was almost lost forever.
I was unfortunate to lose my childhood home. My mom came home with this big box, and she's like, look what we found.
Significant part of your childhood.
Yeah, which I had not visited or seen in more than 25 years.
Beautiful thing, you're at Planet Home with these memories from your home. Yeah. We're tactile creatures. We need to see it, feel it, know it. So that's, I think, the power of this installation right here.
What we're seeing is an increased frequency of these wildfires.
This is really powerful.
Thanks, guys. So, you know, that's really how we've really thought about really connecting the dots between the solutions that we find and you know, really the community around us. And that was a true story, right, from some friends of ours, from some creators. So we really thought about our platform a lot, and we really thought about how do we now take the power of Planet Home and all the work we've done as a community and build more bridges and kind of bring us together. And so as we sort of bring our online tools up this year, as we come back to some very large plans we got, which we'll be sharing over the next 3 or 4 months, the platform that we hopefully will be bringing to the community will allow us to sign up, build a community of solutionists that take on challenges. The platform will allow you to measure your actions as a solutionist and really look at how we have individual impact and collective impact. So we're really excited to really talk a little bit about that today, and really talk about how these global leaders and also us can all join in. You know, we do think it's a power of we, not the power of I, but we do know that you know, some people have media eyeballs, some people have technology platforms, some people have financial impact, some people have environmental science and that they can offer. So really, we're trying to find a way to bring all of these components together. So you'll be able to join the Solutionist Leadership Team on their global campaigns, where you can join them on their challenges, which will be really fun. So we'll be launching that this year, where we do things like Eat Better, where we'll have different sort of thought leaders and solutionists come together to build these campaigns, to really tell the story how maybe eating less meat can be measured and what the impact that might be. We're doing challenges like Make Better, What's Your Earth Shot, where we'll get people to really talk about taking an Earth Shot, building a business, an idea or solution that really could make that difference. You know, why a moonshot when we could be here on Earth taking an Earth Shot? So we'll be launching some Earth Shot campaigns this year. And we'll be doing things like the Move Better campaigns, where we'll be doing things like carbon cycle for drawdown and really giving people the empowerment to take these actions at home. So, you know, we really thought about the challenges that we need to move us along this journey, to be able to move in from sort of like how we think about things into challenges, into actions. And so we'll be doing things like Water for Life, where we're doing the Live Better campaign. So these sort of things will be running all year. And we've been working with, you know, we have hundreds of organizations that we work with and really have good products that are net positive to the planet. So we're hoping to also give access to these organizations, give access to these tools, and really bring these organizations also into the mix so they can use their capital for good. So these are companies that are already doing good just by being the nature of what they do. And so from there, we have a lot of nonprofits on our foundation side that will be also aligning with this process. So whatever your passion is, whatever action you take, you can align that with your purpose. So it all kind of aligns, and it works nicely together. And of course, it again builds bridges, brings the movement together, and allows us to share resources. And you know, this was Bill Nye on stage 2019. I think there's hope now. The pandemic may be coming to an end, and maybe we'll get back to a physical event. But you know, he said, "Let's change the world." And you know, we take that, you know, as a group, as our tiny little part, to really think about how this platform that we built, a Planet Home Insights Inside, works. And so on the sort of back end, that's sort of the front end. It's a bit easier to get to Eat, Make, Move, Live, and what we do on the planet. How we really thought about it with, you know, the vast amount of people around this is how do we build better bridges and how do we become better partners together? And I think Amanda this week is going to do an amazing job at really corralling this idea of collaboration with Roxy and the team. So Amanda, thank you for all the hard work you're going to be doing to teaching us how to be better collaborators. And one thing we did develop quite early on is the framework and taxonomy. And we developed it because we felt like the gaps between, knowledge gaps between everybody was so vast. I'm not in a knowledge base like some of the amazing people here. So I can't get around all of the environmental solutions. So I try to simplify it for myself. And so the Eat, Make, Move, Live framework and taxonomy was organized in a way to simplify it for us to all get access to solutions, data, and research. And so that has been able to sort of simplify the research and the measurement tools and communicate that. It also allowed us to really build bridges between other frameworks. So like whether it's the SDGs or drawdown, I think we have to plus up these organizations. We have to empower them. What little work we can do, we have to do with everyone to allow us to contextualize the information. So the framework, as we felt, was important, and that we've continued to build that framework. And this week we'll do more work because we think that with the indicator structures we built and the calculators, it allows us to pretty much measure anything. And if we can measure it, we can improve it. So we worked very hard on trying to figure out how do you even measure this yourself. So we can measure individual actions. We can also measure pretty much anything, and we can also then share that information with the community. So we're really excited by that part. And then this brings us back to the wheel of opportunity. If you have any type of art project, it doesn't matter what type of creation you're making. We're always looking for support partners, whether that is a for-profit company that you believe in that can actually help you with capital, or whether that's a non-profit organization that might be doing the work or the building the program that your inspiration can lead to good work. And so our framework and our network and the way we've built it enables us to find the appropriate net positive partner to put to projects and to take these partners and get them to work together. So whether you're in land stewardship and let's just say you're trying to do clean transport for your goods, you know, having access to people in clean transport might speed up this process of learning how to move your goods and services in a more effective way. So really, this is a way that we looked at the planet and also looked at the networks in order to help speed them up. And so we do have, you know, these sort of EAT networks where food security, land stewardship, ocean stewardship, health and wellness can work together or independently to really think about their impact, and it really pushes forward how we explore ecological and biological balance. And that's EAT. And then we go to make. Many of you might have heard this before, but this is our simple framework, which allows us to really think about how we eat, make, move, and live on the planet, and simplify how our networks can foster and come together. And that really brings me to the end of a little presentation for Planet Home today. We don't normally present so much of our work here, but we thought because of what we got coming up in 2019, and because today we're really starting to launch our Solutionist series and also calling all Solutionists, if anybody is working on projects that they feel would fit into this, Roxy is a key member of the team, and so is Amanda and Nico. We're very integrated as a community, and we'd be open to speaking to anyone that's interested in working with Planet Home this year and supporting BFI and the Design Science Studio further. So I'm going to leave you with this little thought. Change our minds and we can change anything. How we eat, make, move, and live. We have a chance of a lifetime, and it's ours to take. The status quo has been shaken. We need to leave behind how things were done, leave behind our ways of thinking as we begin to move forward. We need to culture a new journey, culture love, culture values, culture solutions. And at that, I'd like to hand you back to our host of the day, the amazing team at the Design Science Studio and at Buckminster Fuller, and thank them for allowing me to be a tiny grain of sand in this amazing beach they're building.
Thank you so much, Anthony. And Vince, if you don't mind keeping us both on the screen for a moment. It's just such an honor to have you come and share in the way that you have today what Planet Home has done for all of the creators that have touched it has radically transformed their life. The work that you do as an individual and the work that the Planet Home team has done, and Gabrielle, of course, your co-founder, in taking the time to very carefully create frameworks that can help give us guidance and clarity around grounding the system of solutions that are necessary to regenerate our planet home, and not only saying and creating structures for artists and designers to be an integral part of collaborating with solutionists who are working on different initiatives and organizations. It's one thing to say it, it's another thing to create structures to empower them within it and weave those together as an integral function. And so the way that you have pioneered and supported that has radically transformed a lot of people's lives. And it's my delight and honor to be a close part of the team and to be a contribution to that process, and so excited to weave the studio and the creators of this year and future cohorts in with this vision and weave really closely so that we can bring so much of these visions, the collective visions, to life. And the new platform is incredible. I know this is one of the first times you've really shared it. And Planet Home, just so everyone knows, after 2019, Planet Home went into has been working on this platform for many months and refining it and designing it. And now it is so strong and is going to be able to hold so much and empower so many. So just a massive shout out to the Planet Home team. And also thank you for all the content that you all are bringing this week. It's going to be incredible. And yeah, definitely we're going to do the session at 2 p.m. We're inviting a bunch of the creators from 2019, but also any creators who are here who might want to collaborate on future Planet Home activations and create immersive experiences or weave in their art. So I think it'll be a really wonderful session to get a little deeper. So definitely inviting everyone to come, and just massive, massive amounts of gratitude for all your support, Anthony, for us and for me also. Thanks for leading.
And just on that note, you know, we have quite a long journey to a very large component piece we're doing this year or / early next year, which we're not showing for a while, but we do work quite silently until we get things in an executional space. But I would say that for those interested, 2 p.m. today, a lot of the people that were really instrumental in even us being here today, obviously Roxy, Nico, and Amanda, who really led the charge in 2019, along with amazing characters like Seth Bunting and Chris Holmes, who's actually on here today, and Rachel and guys from my team will be sort of hosting a sort of actually a 2017, 2018, 2019 get together. This started in 2017, and so some of them guys are coming. So if you're really interested in being a part of the program, today 2 o'clock's a great time. If you want to if you're on the artist side, it's a great time to come.
Hey Roxy, it's Chris. Just really quick to chime in. I'm going to put in the chat a link to a forum for anyone interested in working with us in the future. It's planethome.eco/create-with-us. So it'll be in there. So we'd love to hear from anyone and everyone to be part of the community. And as Anthony said, please join us at 2 o'clock today.
And just one other note, if it's okay, just if anybody is interested in on the data side, specifically in taxonomies, and what we're calling taxonomies and communities. Myself, Amanda, and Robert Suarez will be doing a much deeper dive into the frameworks that we've all been working with. And Amanda is actually the pioneer. I have to tell you, Roxy is the pioneer of this, and we followed her for a very long time. So I'm very honored this week to be able to spend some time with Amanda doing a deep dive on the taxonomies and communities. So that'll be midweek for anyone. And at that, I would just want to thank us for allowing me to be here today, and thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Yes, one of the pioneers for sure. You are also one of the pioneers as well.
You have to keep giving back. You have to keep giving back.
Pass the ball back and forth. Well, love you, love you. Thank you, thank you. This is epic. And see you in a little bit, Ant. Thanks, Holmes.
Bye, everyone.
Amazing. Woo! Bunch of superheroes. Okay, so on that note, speaking of superheroes, I am so delighted to introduce Elena. Elena Sheridan is a creative systems thinker, project coordinator, and futurist with a wide scope of experience in marketing and event production logistics, leading from big crews to erect temporary towns in the middle of nowhere to building junk rafts and cruising down the Rio Ebrio in the name of conservation. I have been so moved by Elena's project and her team's project doing Fun Plastic, what you're doing with the precious plastics movement and community and creating resource out of what we think is waste is one of, I speak about your project so much, and I'm really, really excited to spotlight you today. And so it's been such a delight to have you as a part of the studio. And I feel better in the world knowing that we're on this mission together. Thank you for being here, Elena.
Roxy, what an intro. Thank you so much. And what an honor to follow Anthony. The Planet Home session that we had is one of our first studio sessions, really set the tone for me in a lot of what I've been exploring. And I call myself a solutionist now. So it's really nice to speak here after a day that they're launching their solutionist campaign. As Roxy said, my name is Helena. I'm also known in some circles as just H. I'm a South African. I was born right at the start of the season finale of apartheid. I'm a bit of a future prepper, and I think what defines me well is my INFJ personality type. It's a really rare group of people, 1%, 2%, 3%, but that includes Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, and Oprah. So I'm cool with that. I'm going to share my screen and just take you into my mirror board now. Yes.
It's loaded. Yes. This mirror board is an inspiration.
Massive. Is it loading? Because it's no, that's not it. Sorry. There it is. Okay, so that's enough about me. My very sort of random and extreme experience of my CV comes down to being a community coordinator and a project manager, because also in that INFJ personality type, they say we like to exert control by planning and organizing. But via the studio, and as Roxy mentioned, a lot of the studio didn't regard ourselves as artists when we started this, and I was certainly one of those. Via the studio, we've come to recognize that I'm an artist in the sense that it is the role of the artist to map relationships and to study and express patterns. My art is in the way I think, connect, organize, and execute, and in scrapbooks full of scribbles and notes. At the start of 2020, my calendar was full of big event productions and art builds. So it was going to be the year that I was going to make money from events, having worked for the experience and the travel before that. This thing is freaking out. So when lockdown obviously happened, it made our industry prohibited, and it was time to rethink our path. The brand new concept of lockdown due to a pandemic was obviously a very scary global scenario, but it also provided us finally with some time and space and opportunity to develop concepts and ideas that we'd long since wanted to explore. We've known for a while that we wanted to skills for longer lasting, greater good in a country with so many needs. The economic and the social knock-on of the pandemic was quickly evident because most South Africans were living hand-to-mouth and day-to-day before the normal day-to-day was cancelled. And as I was witnessing the system fall apart in real time, the logistics coordinator in me started to get going. So for the Design Science Studio, my artwork is this framework for a circular community, specifically in the what's so-called developing world. Essentially, it's a deep network of alternatives in social structures, governance systems, economic models, and in our perception of waste. One of the early visionary sessions of the studio, presented by founder of 10 Power, Sandra Kwak, turned me onto the concept of the fourth world standard. It ignited in me the notion that we need to drastically change what we perceive as being successful, and we need to do it now. Kwak's concept discussed paths forward for global sustainable economic development, because if everyone chased the American dream as seen on TV, we'd quickly consume 5 planets worth of resources. But then she flipped that script and turned it into something that we can be inspired by. Because if it creates opportunities for developing nations to completely leapfrog the stages of development as found in the developed world. It's much more fulfilling futures are worthy without having to go through the growing pains. I quote, "There are opportunities for developing clean energy, clean water, ecosystems, renovation and permaculture jobs that completely shift local economies and create economic self-reliance." So for us, it starts with a precious plastic workshop adjusted to the South African context, with a focus on upliftment and employment. Because most of my country lives in informal settlements where public services are non-existent, and they live on a minimum wage that is far below a living wage. With Fun Plastic's business plan, we seek to combine local beneficiation with social upliftment projects rooted in environmental rejuvenation and economic development, which will be achieved by local plastic repurposing and the establishment of entrepreneurial opportunities with very low barriers to income. Our ultimate goal is to establish and grow circular economies that mine what we're now calling the 7th resource, which is recycling, but specifically for us plastic, which we can turn into practical products and infrastructure elements to serve the communities where it originates. But the model is scalable and adaptable, and we envision it in every neighborhood in Africa. And it runs on an operating system that I call the solutionist formula, a mix of the most relevant of our combined indigenous knowledge systems, sustainable advancement, and success stories from the developed world. But the vision is much bigger than that, because once local beneficiation has done its thing to get people a few steps up the hierarchy of needs, that's when we can initiate collaboration to create big public art pieces that inform and raise awareness while creating more jobs through the building process. That's when we can start to chip away at the walls built between us for over generations of segregation and othering, so that we may collaborate, focus on a common goal and ambitions in order to harness the immense creativity of our diversity. To conclude, I think for the Design Science Studio's point of view, my work asks, how does one keep up with the future generation of Joneses? How can we shift our aspirations from fame and fortune, fast fashion, and consumerism to cooperation, sustainable habits, and tiny footprints? What is aspirational in a 2030 that works for 100% of life? And in essence, how do we envision a model citizen of Regen era? My project can be found through you can enter this mirror board and explore it as deeply as you want through the village, or there are links on our website platform.org.za or the Facebook Fun Plastic page. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Roxy, if you want to take over and introduce the next speaker, that'd be great.
Yes, happy to. Elena, thank you. That was incredible. I'm so happy to have more and more opportunities to highlight your work in the world. And yeah, it's just such a delight always to get to hear what you're up to. And every time I feel like we see a little bit more progress and a little bit more to your brain, that really is just like a network map of potential actualized. I think one of the things that most inspires me also about your mural board is how, like, after every session that we did together, you can see how you integrated what we learned together, and then how that like rippled into the work. And so it just, yeah, it's one of the few sort of artifacts that we have, to really see like each step of the way how you integrated the different lessons into your project. So thank you for sharing that as a part of setting up. And I'm going to pass it over to Faith for yet another incredible revolutionary who will share with us.
Thank you, Roxy. We are about to be joined by somebody that is incredibly talented in so many different ways. Stroopy Pohl, or Richard Stroopy Pohl, is an incredible light human being that is talented in music and dance and tensegrity. He's a wizard at tensegrity. He's has a deep background in traditional music and dance, and a general love for tensegrity and timeless crafts. He's worked in many forms of permaculture and play, and has a deep background in capoeira Angola and the awesome vastness of synergetics. Stroopy is I don't even know how to describe him, not even of this earth, but a sentient being brought to us. So I'm very, very excited to have you all meet him and hear from him. Welcome, Stroopy.
Unboxing reality. Can we turn up your volume, Stroopy? We can see you, but we can't hear you.
We cannot hear you.
Stroopy had mentioned that he was having internet problems earlier, so let's see if we can get him. Oh, I think we got you.
Yes,
we can hear you now.
That is better.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Your voice.
Thank you all. Thank you, Faith. That was so nice of you. And thank you all. You know who you are. All of you beautiful beings of the Regenera crew. It's been such a pleasure to be on this ride with you all, and I didn't really know what I was getting myself into, but it's a good thing to be here. And yeah, as you said so nice, my oldest background, so to speak, is with the music. You could call it the roots music of Europe. So, oh, Stroopy, I was thinking of that. Yeah, it's the roots music of Europe, like the dance music that is bringing together people to play. And I was asked to play a tune, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to play on this beautiful whistle or pipe that is from Sweden. It's a Härjedals pipa. And well, I'm going to play you a tune of mine, which is called Fibonacci Schottisch. So those of you familiar with, oh, Vince, I will try, but it might be that the flute is louder than I'm speaking when I'm speaking. I'll try. We'll see. All right. Okay, so back to Fibonacci. Those of you who know it, it's a growth pattern, and I'm buried in patterns. So I applied the pattern to a melody, and this is what came out. that's the kind of stuff that happens when you walk in a park in the springtime. No. Oh, replay. Yeah, that too. Yeah, I don't know. I do think I have a few minutes more. So let me just say, my project within the design science decade and beyond that is to do what I call unboxing reality, which of course is a pun. But I think it's kind of important that we learn, or we talk about this, because I think it's truly the most remarkable legacy of Bucky, is that not, you know, he was not the one who invented the domes. He was not the one who did this and that and that. He didn't invent tensegrity, but he connected all of these things, and he recognized a root cause in civilized misconception of the world, which is the idea of a disembodied universe, you know, where somebody, like a point that you can point to, is nobody. And he didn't do that. He didn't go with the weird kind of abstractions that we're so used to. And what he found out is that if you don't follow the abstractions but realize what they are about, then what we believe to be a thing called space is nothing like that. And instead, what he found was that there is something called space-time or time-space, or whatever you want to call it, really, which is space and time as one embodied thing, where one is an aspect of the other. And these kinds of things are not just incredibly beautiful to play with, because they can play a lot. They dance and they take up all kinds of shapes and forms and can go any which way. But they are really incredibly practical, because while you can't do a cube like this, you can do other things with the same stuff, and those things will last and will help to realize a world that is in tune, you know, where humanity or humanimals are in tune with their nature, with our nature. And yeah, the jitterbug. Okay, I will do it one more time. This is not actually the full jitterbug, because this has the vectors to the center. There's a center of gravity though. That's quite neat. Yeah. All right, so if you're interested in this kind of stuff, in synergetics, in a hands-on perspective with easy language and words that are maybe new but maybe old, I don't know, stuff about left angles and these kinds of things, then please do check out my my YouTube channel, where I put some content, you know, videos where I explain these things in detail, and also my Instagram. And I can drop those links in the chat in a minute or two. Yeah, otherwise, welcome to my Hexaverse, and it's growing, you know. It's great to have you all connect with it and grow together with it and make your own of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Struppy. Thank you so much. Struppy has been one of those like healing, wise energies that we've had in the studio throughout, and every time he brought his music, it was just like pure magic, as you saw. And it's fun because one thing I shared with him that was special is that as we were, every time we were on a call, he would remind us that nature doesn't build cubes, and that we keep building all these houses and structures that are very squared, and nature is way more organic. And as we were building the Topia world that you're about to explore, I carried on with me this knowledge, and every time we're working with the designers to design the houses and all the—
That's too square. That's too square.
I would tell them all the time, like, it's too many straight lines, it's too more. And so we've had him in spirit, and when you explore Topia, you'll see a lot of that. Anyway, thank you so much, Struppy, and we're gonna move to our next amazing speaker. We're gonna have Serena Trippieri with us, and she's also has been helping us a ton, which we're super thankful, building some of these worlds that you're gonna explore. She's a set designer, which is one of my favorite things in the universe, because it's this magical profession that just creates magic out of nothing. So you can film things or do theater or just like creating worlds from scratch. That's something that we have in common. She has had an amazing career working for all different kinds of institutions and performing arts. And yeah, I can't wait to hear her share and to share her project, which is super fascinating.
And I just want to doubly thank Serena. We've been in the trenches, passing off the baton late night so she can keep building in the night. And then I wake up and we're like, okay, where you get? And she keeps building. So we've been working really hard together with the whole team that's building the multiple new art city worlds, which will, we have soft opening right now, but we'll have an official launch in the next few days. So yeah, just mad public props to you, Serena, for holding it down and helping us build. And you're just such an incredible artist. And you've also been collaborating with so many of the artists in the studio, helping them bring their visions to life. And this is, again, kind of a microcosm of the macrocosm. If this story is inspiring for you, like just at 10x that. There are so many artists who have been helping each other in tremendous ways. And Serena is just a beacon of that collective force that's happening here. So thank you, Serena. I'll be here, and just let me know when you want me to cue it up. But I'm going to take myself off spotlight because now you are the one. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nico, and thank you so much, Roxy. And I really love what you say, because one of the most important things of the studio has been the connection that we'll be creating between us, and the way each of us has found a way to help each other in the best way possible, and just building the word in these last days has been amazing. And so happy to be here to present to you my project, which is Micromegas. Do you see the screen?
Yep, we got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so Micromegas is an immersive journey through the infinitely small and the infinitely large. If you consider these terms, this is a very huge thing. So this presentation is going to be very dense, but I'll try to be very short, and you will find all the details in the website. So Micromegas is actually the very first sci-fi work of art, and it's a novel by the philosopher Voltaire, and it's the story of a supergiant from the planet Sirius that decides to take a journey to learn and to enrich his wisdom. And so he travels across our galaxy, finding out that everywhere the universe has scattered lots of things that are different. So he says it's different everywhere, but it also seeks proportion everywhere at every level of scale. Everything seems to be made sufficiently for all the creatures that lives in their worlds. So in the end of his journey, he decided to visit one of the smallest planets he's ever seen. There's this little rock going around the sun, and it's actually planet Earth. And he actually goes there to meet these very diminutive people, the smallest ones they have met, who are humans, and he realized that they are the ones with the biggest ego and the biggest pride ever. We have to remember that this is a philosophic book, so the main topic is actually a reasoning about how important it is to think about proportion, about scale, and about our point of view that should be relative, because we are just a very likely viewers of a huge reality, but we are just a little tile of between the super large and the super small existing. And it gives lots of importance to what is knowledge, what is research. How do we find our wisdom if we don't search, if we don't understand reality, if we don't understand nature? And it's try to defeat human, to tell them how difficulties to believe there's some creature, even the smallest one, believed to be the only one that has all the creation made for it. Actually, we were a bit away from this sort of philosophical and religion problem, we think, but it's not true, because even nowadays we have a huge problem about complexity. We don't accept complexity anymore. We only like to understand linear thinking. We only like to feel that what we do has just a little consequence, and we don't want to go further in the understanding of that. And that's where we lose our and the right idea of how not centric we are in the world. So it's not just about all the things we do, but we need to remember that nature is made in a complex way, and all the things that happen have many reasons and many consequences, and we need to take care and to learn to understand our position in all these things. And this problem is probably coming from the fact that we've been taught in school that everything is divided. We conceive the world as divided nation. We conceive language divided into different languages. Well, it's just a matter of words that we all speak differently. And even senses, we've got to learn that senses are divided, which is actually something that could be said but cannot actually exist, because all our senses act at the same time and every of them affect each other. So even senses is something that we feel at the same time and is mixed, and you cannot divide it. So we really need to go back in the understanding of this progression of scale in reality to understand that all knowledge is only a tool that we have to learn about what is above us and below us, and to find our new point of view in this and our new perspective. And art is definitely what it could definitely be the tool to show us how everything is in nature is beautifully beautiful in scale and in proportion to the dimension it occupies in the world. And like Fuller is this very incredible concept about zonal lucidity. So he said that we are only able to understand and to comprehend what is between two twilight zones, the twilight of the super big and the twilight zone of the super small. And we actually have tools, because we humans have been developing so many technology, so many tools to go above this limit, these twilight zones. And we are actually one of the very few species able to go out our sense and to explore what our nature didn't let us explore by the way we are biologically mean. So my questions on the way I've developed this program is just how can we use all this technology that let us see how science over nature is in reality. And there are lots of scientific visualization demonstration that actually teaches how nature works and how its principles affect reality at every scale, and they actually recall each other, and how we can use this kind of visualization to push creativity and to push art into new tool and into new creativity. So that's a big inspiration for me is the fact that science demonstration has been a very important tool in the past. So for example, in the 19th century, there was very common to have a scientific theater when all the experiments were public and all the kind of audience went to. And even in the future, there are artists that are planning very soon to send artists into space to see what their how science affect them, how visualizing the real world, having like this incredible experience of science, of universe, of reality could affect art. My answer to the question, to the previous question, was to make an installation where actually I could present scientific demonstration and I could present biological element, biological visualization in a way that is interactive and that let people be moved by it, let people kind of learn new things while they're playing with science, while they're playing with natural elements. All these things are incredibly related, like the chain of reality is expanding from the super micro to the super macro, and we find repetitive structure. So how interesting it is to see that when we do experiments, we see actually that our something that happens in the super small is also happening in the super big. And we think it is, for example, to the structure of the atoms, to this, related to the structure of the solar system. There are so many, and one of them is definitely the most recognizing one, which Strupi just sang a song about it, is the Fibonacci sequence. Fibonacci sequence is found everywhere in nature, and for example, is also found in the cochlea, which is the organ that let us hear. And so I had this idea of structuring my installation in a double Fibonacci spiral, because that's a sort of device that this little giant invent to come to Earth, question us humans, and hear us back. So this is the development of the project and of the space. And the idea is to have this immersive experience guided by the voice of Micromega himself. So I'm rewriting the text, pretending he's coming back to Earth, and he wants to question us again and see if we actually learn how to understand our position, how to understand nature, how to find ourselves in the right place to respect what is around us, even if it's a bigger or even if a smaller scale. And the idea is to use what I call sensory translator, which are actually very simple tools that we already have, like microscope, telescope, a time lapse, or infrared, and all these things that just let us go farther our zone of lucidity and understand better what is around us. So the idea is to have this immersive experience where we can actually experience things by ourselves, and then in these walls of this cochlea, of this double spiral, we actually see projection of these things that are related to what we experience at the moment, but happens in a bigger or in a smaller scale. And the most important thing is that at the end of Micromegas, he gives to human a book. He defines a book of admirable things, of knowledge, and is actually a very blank book with nothing in it. It's actually a way to tell to humans, you don't have to, you cannot ask questions, you cannot have taught how reality is. You just need to go and explore yourself and find out how everything is connected at every level, and find out what are the principles, the rules in the world, and that you are not the center of it. So for this amazing Rising Fest, I am doing, I've done this virtual demo of this installation, which if you want, you can now share, Roxy, that you will find in Mora. And it's just a very simple idea of how the word, the installation, the Micromega installation can be presented in the world. That's just incredible. That is a spiral that could be larger and larger. So right now I just installed 4 stations where you can actually explore the video and the audio of 4 things that happens in the macro scale and in the hyperscale. And I thank very much my friend and artist and director Giovanni Firpo, who helped me with the dramaturgy of it, and he's actually the voice of Micromega in this little installation. And yes, I really hope you enjoy, and just please, when you go there, read everything, watch all the videos, listen to the voice of Micromega, and more important, get the book of knowledge, the book of admirable things, which is at the end of the installation, and use it to just fill it with all your discoveries, with all your intuition, and make it like a collective book of experience that we can all fill together. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Right. Do you want to just explore around, Serena?
Yes, keep going.
Okay, so I put it in the editor. I'm gonna open the normal one just so that people see it at the same view.
Me and I'm just gonna paste the link to the website where you can find the complete big presentation with all these things I talk about in detail.
Perfect. And Vince, you can take me off co-host so the other people don't interrupt whenever someone comes in the room. Great. Cool. Going back in.
Yeah, and I think it's Micromega is very lucky because it's in a beautiful world that's been built by Design Science Studio. Like when you're gonna explore the design of this virtual world, it's just gonna be astonished. It's so beautiful, so cool, and there's so much to explore. So yeah, as I say, you're gonna reach there. The first thing you're gonna see is this little preface, which you can read, and if it's not easy for you to read it, you can just read it better in the website. And then be careful to follow the spiral and follow all the forestation in order. And yeah, when you get inside or close to the sphere, you can click in it, and you will see the videos, and you start hearing.
Little inhabitant of this planet, my name is Micromegas, and I'm here to offer you audience for a second time. I had traveled a bit, and invisible insects. I first question your existence, that one must not judge anything by its apparent size. O intelligent atoms, who seems to surpass the boundaries of your senses, why do you only conceive your world in terms of division? You divided your land into nations, your words into lands.
Yeah, unfortunately, I understand that working in a spiral naturally word is a bit more difficult than in normal life, but you are allowed to cross the wall.
It is possible that there are such small beings as these. There may just as well be a spirit bigger than those of the superb animals that I have seen on Sirius. And yet, then your reasoning, and now I am full of gratitude for uncovering these seemingly impenetrable secrets. Perhaps even bigger or smaller infinite exist after the infinite we know. And
Thank you so much, Roxy, for this little tour. It's amazing to see the art in there, and just can't wait to have all the people around this amazing work we've been creating. And yeah, all the artists are great. Everything is great. So thank you.
Thank you, Serena. That was incredible. We got to go like all the way in. I learned things about your piece that I didn't know. And yeah, I think that it's just such a powerful experience. I can't wait to have the time to just sit and listen to all the videos. But the simulation that you've created and the vision that you have for what these immersive experiences can do to transform is so inspiring, the way that you brought that to life and experimented in this 3D space. You've really pushed the edges and gotten incredibly creative with what the New Art City can also hold. And I think that I can only imagine all the other work that you will bring to life with this piece once it can get into the physical space too. So bravo, Fibonacci forward.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for everything you do. It's all great. Thank you.
Thank you, Serena. Okay, amazing. What a bunch of incredible humans. Yeah, so that little sneak peek that you all got to see is the inside of Mora. We have two 3D installations, and their whole entire worlds upon themselves, and that's just one of them. Topia is the other spatial web platform that we're using, and there's another 5 in that space. So just, yes, so much celebration for Serena. That was amazing, amazing. And I am just so inspired by all of these creators and the way that they are translating solutions with their work and empowering experiences in all of the forms and all of the forms of art. And the next incredible creator that I have the delight to introduce, Julian Gudelli, is an amazing artist, but also have so many different forms. You're a master facilitator and community organizer and a filmmaker and podcast creator. You also
thank you so much, Roxy.
Facilitate in your own right and wellness, and that was a new thing that I learned about you. But you have been empowering leaders to face their challenging and supporting purposeful profession playfully as you're doing all the work with the Green Planet, Blue Planet podcast. So thanks for helping expand our impact and amplify the work of the studio and through the podcast and done all of, Julian, just to say for everyone, really felt inspired by the work that we're doing and did an entire podcast series about the studio creators. And so I'm sure you'll get to share a little bit about that. But yes, world-renowned Julian, incredible podcast producer, speaker, transformational coach, host. Welcome, my friends. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Roxy. It was a delight to, be in this room for the last 2 hours and see all the contributions that were highlighted today and to be here with all of you. I want to use 1 minute of my time to reinvigorate us. And so I want to invite you right now, if you're sitting, unless you're driving or you're in the shower, let's just, stretch our arms up and breathe in super deeply. Stretch open if you want to, and just open your heart and bring the arms down again. Breathe out through your lips. We'll do this 2 or 3 times. Breathe in, open your arms all the way to the sky, and come back down, breathing out through your lips. Just, as we're all so tuned into the Zoom here, let's zoom out a bit. So breathing in again, 1 more time, the arms up. Stretching our hearts open, letting all the goodness come in, and then coming down with the hands again, breathing out through our lips. Just to get a little bit of energy flowing for those of you who wanted to stand up and wanted to share good energy here. So what I'll be doing is I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to walk you a little bit through the ecosystem I've been building for the last 3 to 4 years. And I'm going to share a little bit about podcasting and broadcasting from kind of the inside perspective. Okay. And I'll be hopefully adding some value to your morning, your afternoon, your evening. So as Roxy just said, the name of the podcast I'm creating is called Green Planet, Blue Planet. I'll be sharing about this a little bit more in a second here. It's really an inside calling to interview, to speak, and to share about the vision of a world we want to create, much rather than the environmental catastrophe that we're currently witnessing from the past. So this is really a podcast about connecting you to a broad variety of global change makers, exploring the topics of trust, of solutionism, of humanity's footprint and our role in the ecosystem at large. And so, this is from Spotify. If you're inspired right now, go to Spotify or Apple iTunes and hit subscribe on there. Roxy was one of my recent guests, and so were Gina and Maxi and Brett. And there are many more interviews coming from the Science Studio. I'll share all of that in a little bit here. Jeremy McCain, who was part of the Design Science Studio, was already with me. But really, I'm a European boy who grew into a global man, and I grew up in Germany, and I lived in South America for a long while, and I lived in North America now for the last decade. And really, it's not a concern, but my angle is to highlight people from all over the world, because often this is just a reflection. It gets very, very North America centric. And so, this is just a little stream of the Green Planet, Blue Planet podcast. But let me take you one level deeper into my little ecosystem here. So obviously, this is my website, greenplanet-blueplanet.com. Obviously, featured right now is the Design Science Studio, because we're in this amazing event together. And just to highlight a few of the people I've interviewed over the last year or two, this has been going for 3 years now. As you can see on here, I'm at like 270 episodes. And I've really made it my work to interview people from different backgrounds as well. So if it's a spiritual teacher, if it's someone like Céline Cousteau, who's working, on the forefront of activism in the Amazon rainforest, if it's about regenerative food systems. One of my favorite interviews was with John Dennis Liu, who was heavily featured in the documentary Kiss the Ground as well, about his projects that are ecosystem restoration camps. But also really, really love all of the episodes that kind of bridge from the technology angle much more into the people help people angle. And that's, when we live permaculture design. All-time hero of probably many of us. I had the chance to speak to Charles a few times. And also this is something that's really at the core of my being, which is breath. And, I just wanted to get us to breathe and open our hearts a bit, because when we breathe, we have so much more energy. And when we just, kind of sit and think, the same things tend to happen. And so one of the last interviews I've been doing before I did this DSS Design Science Studio series here was with Dr. Bronners. And this is maybe worth a feature all in itself. I want to share, as I said in the beginning, kind of the behind the scenes look to the podcast I'm creating here. And for that, I'm going to just zoom out for a second here. A podcast, everyone and their mother has a podcast now. I think people have heard this before. And this is really not necessarily how it is. I think there's about 1.5 million podcasts out there. If you compare this to YouTube channels, that's such a minimal little statistic. And a podcast from the creator's perspective or from the artist's perspective is really a tool for self-development. And so I want you to maybe hear that in a different way than you've heard the word podcast before. This is a tool for the creator who sits at the microphone to invite people into a dialogue, to invite groups into a dialogue, and to find your tribe, to find the people around you, the change makers, the activists, the thought leaders, or simply the great artists that are out there that you want to be connected to, that you want to feature, whose story you want to make your story. Because really that's what happened over these last 3 years. The story of all of these people has increasingly become more and more of my story. And so not each and all of the individual stories, but the story of regeneration, the story of building a world that we believe is possible. And so I'm going to go to the Design Science Studio series. This is really just the tiniest window into the Design Science Studio. I couldn't interview all 144 creators at this point. And I'm going to show you the trailer in just a little bit. I made this beautiful landing page, which we'll share in the chat right after, or someone can share it for me. greenplanet-blueplanet.com/Design Science Studio. And I've hosted, I think, 10 or 12 interviews at this point. Roxy was one of them, and as I mentioned, Gina and Maxi, and we had a great conversation with Umair, who all of the creators in the studio are worth a feature. And so this is why we have this week. But I want to invite you to explore this site, to explore this page, and watch all of them, one of them, simply to get inspired and to understand that there are so many different perspectives of art, of poetry, of technology, of different projects that have been built in this Design Science Studio. And because it's going to be better than just me talking, I'm going to share this video, and I hope that you hear my sound.
I've joined in with Green Planet, Blue Planet podcast and created an interview series with some of the incredible artists in the Design Science Studio in cohort number 1. Check out this short video for some of the highlights cut together for you to get an impression, and then make sure to discover some of the full-length interviews that are on Green Planet, Blue Planet podcast, and also linked out for your enjoyment here in the art world.
The Design Science Studio is a program of Hub Virtual, my creative studio, and the Buckminster Fuller Institute. And at its heart, it's an educational incubator and accelerator for the art of the Regenaissance, and uplifting a creative community as a part of this movement to help articulate this possibility of a healthy planet through this decade-long mission of nonviolent, design-led creativity expressed revolution. And it's a response, and it's our responsibility, our ability to respond, and it's build the capacity of our creative community to feel tooled up and
able to connect with this mission.
To be bold enough to stand in a wild commitment without knowing the path to get there.
Yeah. And that's where I feel like, at least with the project that I carry, I wanted to speak to what the vision train is right now. Connect and to craft together, to do our own work, and at the same time to expand our our knowledge and perception through the connection with each other of being in shared space. How are we influencing each other? How are we going to go forward? How do we integrate this experience into our daily lives of building community that is maybe not all in the same watershed, that is all over the world, but we have something in common. We're building a new language together. We're also building and creating, we're weaving each other into our work, into our prayers, as we realize we're a part of one family, and we can come and go and everybody is welcome, right? And redefining this term, this definition of artist as well, that we are all artists. We are all creative beings.
If you look at a tree, like the cross section of the trunk, you'll see that it has like this continuous flow of reinforcement. So innermost part is least flexible, the outermost is most flexible, but this continuous flow that makes it withstand, that helps it withstand those lateral forces against wind and all that. Then I illustrate that by making like a cross section of the tree and the reinforcements coming out of it, so that we see that, okay, that is present in this tree, but we don't see it. So I will illustrate it using the visual language that we're familiar with.
Collective bodies like the Design Science Studio are the coming together, the coalescing of new forms of social organs. Social organs within which accelerated metabolic processes can take place. So what the Design Science Studio is attempting to do is to rapidly accelerate cultural change by taking on an enzymatic role. So what does that mean? It means to be like a mimetic enzyme. An enzyme is a protein chain which rapidly accelerates a chemical transformation.
From that, it's just the commitment feels just like it's just like a natural outflow and natural impulse of my being that I would be committed to cultivating the conditions for the thriving of all of life. And for me, one of the strategies of that commitment is nurturing collective wisdom emergence that is unfolding. What does the Regenaissance mean? This like infusion of new ways of approaching understanding reality. So my question is, and how can we take what is dying? How can we take what is decomposing? How can we take what is passing away from the old world and honor that which is sacred, or that which serves from that, and really make sure that we're actually metabolizing and actually deconstructing the things that really have no place in the future, and allowing that to create the fertile soil for the future. And there's like metaphysical ways of understanding that, but there's also incredibly practical ways of understanding that as well.
This, I think, is a core topic for all the systems, because I mean, when we talk about the regeneration, sometimes people say, but when you're talking about language, I mean, regeneration, so it's agriculture, it's like the land and so on. I mean, yes, I'm coming from a little village and my family, they are all farmers. So I really believe that the first work is on land, on restoration and so on. But yes, and regeneration is a biological, cultural, social, and generative process that constitutes us in our really like inner journey from the beginning till the end of our existence.
All right. I hope you enjoyed a few of the, insights into these interviews. I'm going to drop the link one more time in the chat here. And before I wrap it, just one last minute, I'd love to share about one of the different offerings that I'm here to host this week as well. And so Ilaria just said it in this little snippet of the interview. It's about the way we're able to embody. It's about how we are actually showing up. And so really, I'm going to actually share a different screen because that's not the screen that I want to show you all. And then other original content. There's some kind of another sound in the background, but really it's about all of your participation, because the more people participate, then it's actually turning into a decade of regenerative action. We're not waiting for leaders or for thought leaders or for institutions to show the way. We are really from the inside out creating this world together. And so for that, in Presence, it's actually currently listed under the Design Science Studio. So I'm going to also list it under Regeneration Rising. It's called Presence Foundations. It's something I'm hosting with my business partner, Orange Chai. It's a beautiful immersive experience for maximum up to 75 people. It is going to be tomorrow, Tuesday at 9 p.m. That's European time. So I'm going to share the link with you in the chat if someone feels called to it. This is really a session where we're going to explore the idea of polarity management. We'll have a breath meditation in it, and we'll have a lot of different kind of group discussions, possibly breakout rooms, to step into some of the topics that are really, allowing us to be present with the change that this world is going through and that we're going through as individuals. So I hope you enjoyed a little tour into my ecosystem, and I'm super stoked to be part of a big meta community like the Design Science Studio. And for anybody who's kind of on the outside watching, join, apply, be part of the second cohort, because the more people participate, the better it gets. Thank you so much, Roxy.
Thank you so much, Julian. Oh, that was incredible. And I'm so glad we got to hear and see a little preview of, so Nico's in the corner. He's hiding, of the trailer that you made. I think the work that you do really invites everyone into their own unique brilliance and spotlights them. I have to say that was my first podcast that I did with you. I was nervous, but I think it went well. And
you did really well.
It was a really beautiful experience, and I know that you've done that for literally hundreds of people. So thank you for weaving bridges and for spotlighting and connecting the nodes of these communities. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'm excited your installation's almost up in Mora, so it'll be a whole other environment to experience your work. So yeah, let's get your event on the right page so everyone can find it from the inside of the festival. And so excited to be weaving forward with you and amplifying your work. And yeah, this is with the beginning of a decade. We got a lot of cohorts to hang out with. So thank you for inviting and continuing to be such a grounded force for thought leadership and creating forward in all of us.
Thank you again. It's a joy to be in any and all of these rooms. And again, I can just call all of you to participate from where you're standing, from your inside out, because that's what makes the world more beautiful.
Yay. Well, we're going to do something a little experimental now, which is going to be fun. So I'm going to put something in the chat for you all. All right. Copy. Yeah, I haven't done this before. Bam. Okay. I'm going to present. Very good. Fun. All right. So if you see it in the chat, there is a little presentation that you go to this link that says ahaslides.com/me-to-we. See you all coming in. Exciting. Great. All right. And if you're having a hard time finding, you can just scan this QR code. And I'm actually going to stop and reshare with a little bit of background music because it's a little more fun. And I think I'm just feeling into Julian's reminder to breathe and expand and enjoy. I think it's worth having a little inspirational background music as we have this fun integration space for our time together today. All right, so it seems like most of you are in. Very good, cool. And we're gonna get this beautiful music in the background. There we go. Great. So the way that this works is that it's going to ask you a question and you can just enter your thoughts straight into the slides. So as you start to submit, you will start to see your responses populate. I don't know if it's working. Yes, there we go. So the question is, how do you see the future of humanity? You have about a minute. Looks like regenerative. So as you continue to put in your answers, the words will grow dependent on the different responses. Beautiful, diverse, abundant, malleable, integrated, collaborative, peaceful, self-sovereign, promising. Epic. You can submit multiple times if you want. Love. Yes. Amazing. Okay. I'm going to go to the next one. So how are you feeling about participating in creating forward towards this thriving future? Yes, fantastic. Yes, yes, yes. We need your participation, all of us. All right. Yes, I love that that was someone's answer. Ready. Let's go. All right. How do we move from me to we? How do we move from me to we? Thank you for adding your voices. We see you. We need you. We love you. very important question. How do we move from me to we? Collaboration, harmony with nature, participation, suspension of disbelief, dismantling oppression, connection, compassionate culture, kindness, cooperating for sure. All right. Oh, so good. All right, just wrapping those responses up for the last few seconds here. Reciprocity, nurturance, gently, time in nature. All right, the future is always first an idea. What is your idea for a regenerative future? We need all of you. Everyone holds an important piece. Beautiful. Okay. Yay. Well, I won't close that because you all are continuing to add your incredible ideas for this regenerative future. But one thing that we do need to do is, as you're integrating, please take this time to continue to integrate. And for anyone who's joining from the outside, please get a ticket, come in. No one will be turned away for lack of funds. There's an immediate scholarship button that gives you portal access to what we're up to here. So just visit bit.ly/regenerarising and take the time to integrate, go into the world, go explore the spaces. There's so many amazing revolutionary conversations, experiences, pieces of art to wander around, and we'll see you back at 5 p.m. for the next PLANetARY Salon. Thank you for all the speakers. Thank you to all the team. There is such a massive team that has been working so hard to bring this together for all of you, to be a beacon of inspiration for cooperation moving forward. And speaking of cooperation, we're going to be transitioning to the next cooperating manual for Spaceship Earth event that's starting in T-3 minutes. So we're going to close this stream and close the Zoom. And thank you all so much. We are so deeply honored. And yeah, we hope to see you and play more. I can't believe it's only day 2. So au revoir. And have a wonderful, wonderful, fun afternoon until we see you again at 5.